This is WHPR, Legal Issues and Health. I'm your host, Carl Williams. My co-host, Gloria Searles, won't be with me this week because she's on vacation, which was well-deserved. I need one myself, but this information that I got to give to you need to be out immediately. And a lot of things have been going on, and in a lot of ways, I've asked you to have your reference tools. Your reference tools is your state constitution, your federal constitution, your Detroit City Charter, and your basic human rights pamphlet. You need all of those because all of those rights are going to be very, very important, especially with the things that's going on around the community. As far as the charter is concerned, you need to know about the charter. And, one thing I did forget, the Robert's Rule of Order. You also need that. All the commissioners should have one, but apparently they don't. If they do, they're not reading it. So you need one so you can make sure that they are following the protocol in accordance to the Robert's Rules of Order and the Open Meetings Act, which that has not been done, and that has been the biggest problem with this charter commission throughout. And there's some things that are happening that you need to know, so call your friends, family members, associates, relatives, whatever. Call them because they need to hear this information that I have to bring to you. I just found out some of these things myself, and with the time constraints that we have, this information that I'm passing to you, you need to pass it along to all your friends, because we have limited resources as it is, and there's only a few places that you can get the real information that you need to get, and this is it. Most of the time when you get the same information from 2, 4, and 7, they put a spin on it and leave out some of the necessary things, essential things that you need to know, and people have the different perspective of what's going on with them charter meetings. That's why you need to be there. You need to be there so you can see for yourself what is really going on. Now, the last meeting that they had was really a show and tell. It lets you know who the commissioners really are. I mean, it was at not Cobo, I'm going to keep talking about Cobo. It was at the City Hall. And they really were comfortable, and they showed it. They violated the community's rights, which that has never happened before. They violated your right, and they violated the spirit of the Open Meetings Act. Yes, they violated, and I'm saying it, and there will be a complaint to follow up to get those rights back. One of the things that they did, some of you may have heard, and if you haven't, they have just going to eliminate Saturday's meetings. That's a violation of the people's and the community rights. You only have 2 days official to attend these charter meetings, and that's on Tuesdays at 6 and on 12 on Saturdays, which is the fourth Saturday. So what they're doing, they're trying to eliminate the community participation in the charter process illegally. I said, now you need to understand what's really going on. Now, if the public and the community was not being effective, they would never done that. Now, you're talking about lawlessness, you're seeing it right before your eyes. And they know that they're doing it. This is not no accident. Richard Mack, he's an attorney. Now, you got a couple other attorneys on that. I think Tracy Peters claimed that she was an attorney. You got all these attorneys on there, so the things that they are doing are intentional. And it's done to limit or eliminate the people's participation in the charter process. See, they forget that even though Dan Gilbert and Duggan may have gave them the money, they only got one vote. We are their boss. We are responsible for them being there. And just like we were responsible for them being there, we can be responsible for taking them out. And we don't have to wait until their time expired to do that. See, but we're going to have to stop talking, and we're going to have to start doing. And we have did some things that a lot of you viewing listeners may not be aware of. Just about every meeting they have, I have submitted violation of the Robert Rules of Order and the Open Meetings Act. So everything that they have done, every meeting that they had, really can be canceled out. And it only take one step, and that's just to go on to court, really, because everything else has been done. Anytime that you think you that big and bad that you can infringe on the people and the community rights, well, then you didn't fell out your tree. But they think they could do it because they feel comfortable down there in the city county building in the devil's den, so they feel relaxed. You know, they feel like they can flex their muscles and ain't nothing going to happen. But we got things in the mix that we are planning, and there will be about 4 or 5 complaints will be filed. And people need to understand what's really going on. So you got the Charter Commission, and you got people who are responsible on that Charter Commission for doing certain things. And one of the things that they need to be responsible for, which I tell them every meeting that I go to, they have failed to notify the public properly and effectively. Now, what I mean by effectively, they are doing the same thing that they've been doing. Despite all the other suggestions and avenues that they have to notify the public, they have not used them as of yet. And I've been telling them this ever since back in November. Every meeting they had, I always tell them it's like a broken record. Y'all have failed to notify the public. Now, the only thing that they do is put a notice in the city county building. How many people really go down to the city county building that participate in this charter process? They know it's very few people that go down there. And why would you have to go all the way down to the city county building in order to see where the meeting's at? I told them they got public broadcasting stations that allow you to make these announcements free. I've told them that numerous of times, and they have yet to make an attempt to do that. You got billboards. Everybody know about billboards. They haven't purchased one billboard or handbills. No handbills. That's another way that you can notify the public. They got a surplus. Now, you mean to tell me they couldn't put an electronic billboard on the east side and an electronic billboard on the west side to notify the people? Now, those just some things off the top of my head. So it's very obvious, plain and clear, that they don't intend to notify the public. They don't want your input. Because what they are doing is not in your best interest. And I say they really haven't did anything. Everything that they have done so far really has been basically just trying to conduct a meeting. Now, they had a parliamentary procedure, I guess you would call it like a seminar or class. I went to it, and not a one commissioner showed up. Not one. And every last one of them should have been there. Bar none. All of them should have been there. None of them showed up. See, that's a problem right there. Even if you think you know what the process is, you never know. When you get to the point where you think you know everything, well, then that's where you done lost out. That's when you stop growing. That's when you stop being effective. And I say it was a good little meeting. There's some few pointers that they could have learned. The one thing that they did stress and talked about, well, they talked about the Robert Rules of Order. Well, that's one of the things that they need to know, because that's what they adopted. They adopted the Robert Rules of Order and the Open Meetings Act. But they're not going by it. They're not going by it. And that's why every meeting that they have, I'm filing a written complaint. So that'll be part of the records to show that they continually and consistently violate the Roberts Rule of Order and the Open Meetings Act. Nothing has changed. And one big problem I have with them is every time they make an error or they want to change something, one thing that you're supposed to do, and they should be aware of it because they did it once and they haven't did it again. It's like when they was having this big ado about the dates, March the 30th and March the 23rd. Well, March the 23rd was the legitimate date. March the 30th was not the legitimate date, and that was the date that Richard Mack wanted to have. So they end up having a meeting on both of them dates. But what the people need to understand, that according to the Roberts Rules of Order and the Open Meetings Act, everything that Richard Mack has done from that time, which was the 30th, and all the meetings up until this point, technically is illegal and invalid, which I've told him in writing and otherwise. Because the first thing that they were supposed to do, they supposed to have went back and rescind the date of the 23rd. Then after they rescind that date on the 23rd, then they could have moved back and changed it and then went forward to the 30th. But they never did that. Instead, they had one on the 23rd, and then because of a lot of the confusion, they end up having one on the 30th. Which the one on the 30th was an illegitimate meeting, because according to the Roberts Rules of Order, only the people who, I guess, have the majority vote are the ones who can issue a reconsideration. And during the time when they was discussing and they had a meeting, Richard Mack was in the minority. He failed. He was not in the majority, so he was ineligible to even consider any of the stuff that he's doing now. So you need to know that. See, that's why you need to have these reference books. That's why you need to have your Roberts Rule of Order. That's why you need to have your Charter Commission, your state and federal constitution, and your basic human rights, because that's going to be the icing on the cake as far as the benefit for the people and the community is concerned. They need to get familiar with those rights. Because when you really understand and truly understand how you got your rights, the court or nobody else have jurisdiction over them because those rights were given to you by the Creator. So what a judge can do when you go to court, which I have mentioned this before, is submit. If he don't submit, well, he's not in agreement with the Creator. So if you're not in agreement with the Creator, well, he must be serving Satan. I mean, it's just that simple. See, it's just that simple when you understand. But I guess, it's some of these things that I'm saying is kind of new to you for the first time hearing, and maybe you have heard it before. But it can't be emphasized anymore. They need to be continually talked about because those are some of the things that in the future we need to know. One of my sayings is, what's the difference between a slave and a free man? Well, the difference is a slave don't have any rights. A free man has rights. But if he don't exercise those rights, and he don't know what his rights is, then he can be manipulated just like a slave. And that's what's happening to us. You don't hear nobody, when you talk about the Constitution, you're talking about the basic human rights, they don't want to even look at those books. They'll walk right past them or take some and stack a pile of papers on top of them. Instead of picking them up and looking in those books. And it's just like any other book. It's in sections. And you go to that particular section that you want to know about or that you're looking up. And you go to that section and you read it. Which is no more than about 2 or 3 pages. But we look at the book and it's saying you really can read the whole book. Then it is. There's both of them. This is the United States Constitution, which they have this also in a real smaller form, a version. You see how thin this is? Not very thick. This is your state constitution. It's thinner than the Fed Constitution. But the only reason why this is so thick because it has some background and some more information about each of the individual rights. Like the 14th Amendment, it tells you some things about the 14th Amendment that you don't hear them really talk about the penalties that you get from infringing on the 14th Amendment. Did you know that a state can lose its right to vote if it can be proven that they have infringed on the people's right to vote or in any way infringed on that right? Now that's some powerful stuff. If you can make a state lose its right to vote, that could cut them out of the process of electing the president. And then here you got your city charter. This is the newest one, January the 1st, 2012. I think I paid $6 or $8 for it. But you need to have all of these. You need to have all of them. Because all of them are going to come into play. You're going to need them at some time in place in the future. And especially, and your Robert Rules of Order, I don't have that with me, but it's a pretty thick book. And it covers a lot of information. A lot of valuable information in that book, especially concerning this charter commission, the way they are functioning. It shows clearly that they don't know what they're doing and they're not following it. And for those who just tuning in, I want to reiterate some of the things that has happened during those the last charter meeting that I was at. The last charter meeting I was at, it was at the city county building. And what they did, those major five, Richard Mack, Holmes, Tracy Peters, Quincy, he wasn't there. But all the rest of them was there. And what they did, with the exception of Nicole Small, Underwood, and Barbara Wyman, they didn't vote on this. But those 4 or 5 that did, they infringed on the community and the people's right by eliminating Saturday's meeting. Now, we only have 2 really official meetings, and that's the one on Saturday, which normally starts at 12 on the 4th Saturday of the month, and you have the Tuesday, the second Tuesday of the month, which usually starts at 6 o'clock. Those are the 2 official meetings that you have. Now, you have a lot of, I guess you would say, small meetings or committee meetings in between that, which all your meetings should be posted. As a matter of fact, I think according to the Open Meetings Act, the second week after they had the meeting, all of them should have been posted and listed of when they were going to be held and the subject matter. But that hasn't been done. Matter of fact, they still struggling of telling you when the next meeting is going to be, for the very next meeting, let alone down the road. And they haven't made no effort to do so. They've been talking about this copy machine. It don't take nobody no 4 or 5 months to get a copy machine. So we got some plans for that. There are some things that need to be done with Tracy Peters. So there are some things that we'll be asking, demanding, and you need to know that you are in a fight. You are in a real fight with this Charter Commission. But the law is on your side. And the only reason why you don't know it, because you don't know what your rights are. You won't pick up a Robert's Rule of Order and try to go through it and see what it says about certain things. You won't pick up a Michigan state or federal constitution or your basic human rights. So you kept in the dark. You puzzled. If anything, if you don't know anything, you at least should know some of your basic, well, not just basic human rights, but your state and federal constitution. Most of the time you hear them talk about your Bill of Rights. Well, those are pretty, I guess, the most popular ones and the most used. But most of y'all don't even know that. And you need to get familiar with it. If you want your circumstances to change, well, then you have to change. You have to become more knowledgeable about what your rights are, so when they are being violated, you'll be aware of it. Sometimes they're being violated and you don't even have a clue. But I'm not saying that to down you. I'm just telling you the facts. And if you want to change, those are some of the things that you're going to have to do. You're going to have to become more aware of what your rights are. They're also supposed to be having a meeting today, I think, about this so-called social recognition. I think there's supposed to be one at 10 o'clock today I think it's 1301 Michigan. I'm not for sure because I just found out about this here. And I wrote it down on the envelope. And yeah, it is 1301 Michigan. That's the day at 10 o'clock, Michigan Avenue. They're supposed to be having a facial recognition, I guess, seminar. You know, that's supposed to be the new thing now, facial recognition, which nobody should be willing to agree with that, because with the technology that they got, they could have you at some place that you wasn't even there. And next thing you know, they got charges on you telling you that you could commit the crime, and they showing your face as being there, and you never was there. So that's another hill that you will have to climb. So you don't really, all the perks and all the stuff that they try to tell you about how good it is and how it's gonna make it, nah. You don't want to open that can of worms. Trust me. And I'm gonna find out some more information about it, what they're planning on doing. And as I find the information out, I will be bringing it to you as I get it, Lord willing. But I want to re-emphasize about what has happened at the last charter meeting that I was at, and that is that the commission has violated and infringed on the community and the people's right to participate in the charter commission process by trying to eliminate Saturday's meetings. Now, when they voted on this, the community was all in agreement about having these meetings on Saturdays at 12 o'clock and on Tuesdays at 6, because there was a lot of discussion on, people's schedule. Some working, some, couldn't make it. So these are the 2 days that the commission agreed on, and the people agreed. Where the sentiment in the community when I was there was, we agreed on that, because that was the two most, I guess, accountable schedules that most people could make. And Saturday is one of the largest turnouts at 12 o'clock, because most people, if they work through the week, they can make the Saturday meeting. So that was one of the reasons why they had them on Saturday. They disregarded that. They didn't have no discussion. Just arbitrarily and capriciously, oh no, we're no longer going to have Saturday meeting. Now, the people, they kept their composure. There were some rumblings, and some, you can hear some dissatisfaction in the crowd, but they wasn't disrupted. And we must see what's going on. I was talking to somebody this morning about this here, about how they have all these policemen. You got 20, 30 policemen around there at a charter committee, and you got crime going on in the street. We don't need all those policemen. They never had no real problem at none of these meetings. The only time that they had a problem at the meeting where safety was even a question was when Carol Weaver, who is the chair, went and made false police reports. And that's a crime in itself. Filing a false police report? Not once, but twice, from what I understand. And that was the only time that there was any disturbance or anything that would justify him talking about public safety. She caused it. But then, when they put it on 2, 4, and 7 and on some 9, 10 and some of these other stations, when they give it to you, they try to make it look like the people was responsible. No. This was done by the commissioner themselves through the chair, Weaver. She caused all this chaos. And that was the only time that we really had any real disruption. And at this last meeting, they arrested a couple of people, I understand. And I need to get in touch with them, talk to Miko. I understand they arrested him. He was targeted. I'm going to tell you like it is. He was targeted because usually he's kind of boisterous and he's kind of loud, and he'd be sitting right up in front. But see, the thing is now, this time he wasn't. He wasn't loud. He wasn't boisterous. He wasn't up front like he was normally be. And for some reason, he was arrested, and I haven't found out yet what he was supposed to be arrested of. And what their probable cause was, if they even had probable cause. He just was singled out because they know that he is more vocal and more boisterous about usually when we're having these meetings. He's speaking out. Sometimes he speaks out of turn, while the meeting going on, and he says certain things to get a point across. See, you got to understand one thing. When your participation, which you're supposed to have participation, is only slated during a public comment, that limits how much participation you really have. And to eliminate a meeting altogether, it's asinine. Especially if they think they're going to get away with it. No, that's not happening. Not on my watch. There will be some protests. There will be some objections filed. And then we will proceed. It ain't going to be like those other ones. The other ones are just set up, making you aware of the violations that you have committed, so you can't say when we go to court that you didn't know. You're aware of them because I talk about them enough. But I only just talk about them. I gave you a copy of all those infringements, and you haven't addressed them yet. That's been over 2-3 months. And I'm saying over 2-3 months because every time I go to a meeting, you can count the times that I will have went to a meeting and didn't have a piece of paper or something to give to you all showing your violations. Not only did I give you something to show your violation, I gave y'all pamphlets showing you how to conduct a budget. That's one reason why Tracy, she's going to be charged too, which I've already told her, so it ain't nothing new to her. She thought that I guess she just thought I was talking, but she'll see. I can show her better than I can tell her. With all the information that she had, and all the information that I've given her, plus what she got from other different places, is no excuse for that money to have to be sent back. Under no circumstances. Because she wasn't doing her job. If she didn't think that she could get enough expenses to keep that money from going back, she should have expressed it to the community to get community input, and I guarantee you that money would have been gone. You know what they say about women. Women love to spend money. I'm guarantee you, if the people had known that they had this money and that it was going to go back, unless they had come up with some kind of expenses to get rid of it? She didn't do that. Matter of fact, I done gave her a couple of suggestions. I haven't heard her say anything about none of them. She know about bill, same thing that you just heard me talk about. You heard me talk about the electronic billboards, handbills. Now, what do it call? I mean, handbills is, I mean, that's just standard. Most people, when organizations, when they want to notify the public, I mean, they get handbills and just pass them out all over the city, not just in one spot. Like what they're trying to do is sham these meetings down our throat. Like we only gonna have meetings down at the city county building. Talking about the next 3 meetings gonna be down at the city county building. Well, they may do that, but we're gonna file a complaint against that because that's not what we agreed upon. When we agreed upon to have these meetings, we said for the benefit of the community, we were gonna have it throughout the community, or we're gonna have alternate them, one on the east side, one on the west side, or try to have it central located. That was supposed to be the agreement. Not all of them down at the city county building where it make it inconvenience for everybody, even though they talking about they want to help you pay for your parking fee. They shouldn't have to help you pay for your parking fee because they shouldn't be having them down there anyway. They should be central located, or at least one alternating east and west, are close to as central located as you can get. That has not been done. It hasn't even been attempted. So that's something that we need to concentrate on. There's a lot of things that we need to concentrate on. And I say now, a lot of y'all don't really see what's going on. We had 3 commissioners that was in the best interest of the community and the city at large. And that was Small, Weimer, and y'all have to excuse me. Our 3 commissioners. And the rest of them, they just act like they just act like they got a license to violate our rights. But that's not going to happen. I mean, there's going to be consequences for them already doing it. I can't say it's not going to happen because it already happened. But there will be consequences. And they're just showing their true colors. They're just showing their true colors. You know, they feel comfortable. You know how it is when you feel comfortable. You flex your muscles. But that's what they was doing down there. But there will be repercussions. Trust me, there will be. We got, the phone's lit up here, so I think I'll take a couple of calls. Hello, you on the air. Can you talk up a little louder? I can hear you.
Hello. Good morning.
Okay. How
Can you
you
hear me?
doing? Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh yeah. Also the facial recognition. Do you remember? Did you hear when the council person? What's her name? Who? Horsfield. Yeah, Sheffield. She was saying that the data software company got $1.4 million. So this is why they had already initiated the facial recognition action. So it never was approved by any board of police commissioners. It just slid through all the necessary what you call compliances, and they got a $1.4 million grant to already put facial recognition in authority or out there. So now I think this is why they're fighting so hard, and they arrested that one commissioner because they want to get that money, because their grant is about to expire. So now they want to do what they should have did the first time, which is get approved so that they can get more money. So it's not about safety, y'all. It's all about the very few who's going to get money to abuse you in your community with this facial recognition business. Also with this over-policing at these meetings, public meetings. That should somehow be some type of violation because, how is it all of a sudden people don't have a right to have be compassionate about what they need and have their concerns met respectfully?
Well,
That's not making any sense.
It's that people need to start filing harassment complaints. When they approach you, unless you are doing something wrong, and they don't have probable cause to even arrest you. Now, first of all, they got to have probable cause, so you have to be doing something to disturb or interrupt the meeting. If you're doing something to disrupt the meeting, if you're talking loud and jumping all up and down like that, okay, that's probable cause. But if you just voicing your opinion, they don't have a right to just come and arrest you because they don't like what you say. There's a difference, and the people need to understand that, because if the police approach you and you're not doing anything wrong, well, then you need to follow up and file a complaint against them.
Exactly.
Now, I know.
Miso and the other person that they abruptly removed from these meetings were never charged. So they, I think, have even more grounds to.
Well, if they don't follow up, they're going to continue to do it. The people just have to understand the process of the system, and when the police when the police arrest them or attempt to arrest them, if he don't have proper cause, they need to get his badge number and file a complaint.
Exactly, because no one should spend 1 hour, let alone a half a day or overnight in a jail cell and never be charged for anything. Because to me, that's negligent and that's criminal itself.
No, that's good for the person who's been arrested, because if they don't have no charges, unless they have probable cause, I think it used to be 32 hours. They can hold you for 32 hours. That's providing that they got a rational explanation for even holding you. They just can't pick you up arbitrarily, which that's what they used to do, and hold you for 32 hours without having some legitimate reason.
Exactly, infringing on your rights.
So that's one thing that people need to. That's another thing that they need to be looking at.
And also, are they that, like you said, they're doing a poor job of advertising these community meetings, and the fact that they sent money back is showing their hand that they deliberately are not trying to address any concerns or to solve any problems in the community needed to be solved in the community and for the people. Because like you said, the machinery alone that they need, the ink, the paper, the advertisement, a billboard that could constantly give you updates on the meetings and where they're being held. Or also to provide transportation. If y'all going to inconvenience people to come downtown and you have to worry about parking and meters and tickets, you could have got a transportation outlet for the people and pick them up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a number of ways they could use that money besides send it back, but that just shows that the plants that are planted in that commission department is working for corporate greed and not the people's needs. Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, thanks for doing it here. See, one thing people need to understand is I'm not I don't want them to make it convenient for me to go down to the city hall.
Yeah.
That's not the agreement. The point is, you're not supposed to be. People shouldn't have to travel all the way down to City Hall to have this meeting. This is a community meeting, and it's supposed to be central located or alternated. There's nowhere in the world you're supposed to have 3 consecutive meetings down at the city county building, which they know what they're doing. They know a lot of people said that they wasn't going to come to the meeting if they were going to have them down there. So that's their strategy to eliminate the public from participation. So that's another complaint that's going to have to be filed. So I got about 2 or 3 of them already.
On the way.
Well, they already wrote up. I just got to get signatures for them. So we're gonna be having some strategy meetings and get everybody to sign them, and then we're gonna turn them in, and then the next step will be going to court.
All right.
It ain't gonna be taking no forever to do that, because we're gonna ask for it under the Freedom of Information Act, which I know that they already should have this information. It's nothing that should take forever.
Okay.
All right, we got another caller here,
Okay, thank you.
and thank you.
Uh-huh.
Hello, you on the air?
Hi, Carl.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. I enjoy your show.
Oh, thank you.
Carl, I'm having a problem where I hear you for a minute and then it'll go where I can't hear you. I can see you, but I can't hear you.
You having
Thank
problem
you.
with? Well, you say you having problem with the sound?
I guess it's the sound, yeah, because I can see you clearly.
You can
I
see
just
me
can't
clearly,
hear
but you say it's fading out, in and out.
Yes.
Are you on a cell phone or what kind of phone are you using?
I'm watching you on my phone, on my smart.
On your smartphone?
Mhm.
Well, it could, I don't know. Some people say it could be phone, and some I'm not sure what that problem is. But with them phones, it we don't have no control over.
Okay, but I pulled you up on the internet on my phone.
You put me okay. You get me on the internet on the phone.
Uh-huh.
Now, is that you having problems with that? Is that going in and out?
Yes. If you would be clear, I can hear you for a minute, and then it just stops. I can yet see you. I just can't hear you.
You know what? I hadn't thought about that, but it just come to me. Also, you can call the people that you get your phone from.
Mm-hmm.
You can ask them about that, and they might be able to come up with, because they got more information on their phone than I do, because it seems like the phones are the only one, the cell phones seem like to be the only ones that are having this problem now. Normally, like on television, they don't seem to have that. They can see and they can hear, but it's just the phones, and I don't know what we can do about that. But I want people to continue to call in and let us know, so we can stay on top of it and at least try to find out what the problem is so we can solve it.
All right, dear. Thank you.
And thank you. Thanks for doing it here. Yes, it's some things that we have been talking about this morning for all you viewers who just have tuned in, and I want to reemphasize some of the things that we talked about. One of the things that we talked about was, as you know, always we tell you to get your reference to your charter, your state and federal constitution, and your basic human right pamphlet. You need all those, and your Robert's Rule of Order. So there are 5 reference tools that you need: the Robert's Rule of Order, the basic human right pamphlet, your state and federal constitution, and your city charter. Now, what I mean by reference tools, these are things that you need, because with things going on the way they are throughout the city, one of these documents or books will probably cover that, or will have something to enlighten you about the process and regarding any of those five, I guess you call them documents or books. Because and most of them, and the killing part, the only two that may cost you something is the charter and the Robert's Rule of Order. The rest of them is free. You can order the human rights pamphlet. Matter of fact, we have gave the address on the program a couple of times, and I'm gonna have to have it with me next time I'm on here and start giving it out every time we broadcast, so people get more familiar with it, because it take a little time for you to get that one. I know I got mine. It took me almost a week before I got it, but you maybe could get them. You may can get them sooner, but because I done had mine for over 2 or 3 years now, so it might be a better way, or quicker way where you can get them. But your state and federal constitution, you can get them from any of your state representatives. They send them to you free. You just call them up and tell them that you want one, and they usually send it. This one here I got is an old one. You got Morris Hood on there. I had another one I think had Kanye's name on there. So you just call any of them up and tell them that you need a state and federal constitution. The federal constitution, I know they give you. Now, in the state constitution, you might have to go online. Which you can go online and download it. So it's free. And in your charter, you could. Now I don't know about if they charge you a fee for your charter. I know I have downloaded the charter, not this one, but the last one, and I downloaded it. It didn't cost me anything. Now I don't know if they charge you now or what, but I know you can view it without cost. You can go and you can view it, and you can go through the whole charter, and it won't cost you, shouldn't cost you anything, unless they have changed things, and which I doubt it. But that's just some bit of information that I want to pass along to you, because these things are very important, and you're going to find out probably in the next, I'm going to say, couple of months. You're going to see how important they is. Especially your basic human rights is going to be incorporated with, or I should say they're going to be incorporated with the basic human rights, because they got me saying the way they want us to think, that your basic human rights is less than when it is more important, because that's where your other rights stem from. It's not the other way around, like they want us to think, that your constitution, your federal and state constitution was first. No, there wasn't. Your basic human rights was first. You was a human being before you even know there was any such thing as a constitution. So your basic human rights is essential that you know them. And then all your other rights stem from that. So that's what you need to understand. And you got section in your state and your federal constitution that allows you to bring in your basic human rights or any other rights outside of your state and federal constitution under Article 1, Section 23, and the 9th Amendment of the federal constitution. When you go into, like, if you go into court, if you cite that and then cite your basic human rights, that gives the judge the jurisdiction to entertain those rights. Now, I'm telling you this because it's very important moving forward. We need to understand when you go to court now, these are some of the things that you need to include in your action. I don't care what kind of action it is. This is one thing that you need to include. This is how you flip the script and give that balance where you can even participate in the process, because the way it is now is rigged against you. And you can maneuver through it even though it's rigged. But you got to know the process. You got to know what your rights are in order to do that. So, it can be done. It's not hard. Maybe I just feel like it's easy for me because I've been doing it for years. I ain't just started doing it something. It's in my DNA, you can say. I've been doing this for, I can't even remember. I know I've been doing it for over 40 years. So a lot of this stuff becomes like air. Do you remember certain things? And that's why some of the things that I see with the commissioner, it stands out. As soon as I see it, I automatically know this is a violation. Because I haven't just bought the book, I have looked through it, and it's very interesting. There's a lot of information in the Robert's Rules of Order. Just about everything that they've done, they have something that's tell you how to proceed, how to function. And they don't. That's why they don't talk about it, because they know they're doing wrong. A thief, if he's a thief, he don't want to talk about the law and how you can catch him. That's insane. So they doing what they do. They know what they're doing. Don't think that they ignorant. That's what they want you to think. They want you to think, well, some of them, I'll take that back. A few of them may be ignorant because they're not gonna pick up a book. They just figure they can go through it because they figure they got the votes and they can do what they want. So they don't figure that they have to follow no law. A lot of them. It's a few of them that think like that. But we here to tell them that's not so. And that book is there for a reason. And since you have adopted it, you have a duty and obligation to follow it. Just that simple. Now, when you don't follow it, and we cite you for violating those rules, well then, now there's a question, are you qualified, or do you have the, what they call it, the attitude to even be a charter member? Because when you consistently violate those rules that govern you, what the word they used to use, they said that a person, when you can't correct them and they can continue to violate, incorrigible. That you can't, there's no hope for you. You're going to violate because you don't know no other way. That's the only way you want to do it, or you just don't know. Like Hassan used to say, this is the fastest hour in show business. And I'm just here to tell you that I'm here, and I'm trying to be here next week. Hopefully Gloria will be back with me. And I just want you to know about those charter meetings and the violations. We will be back in touch, and we will see you next week with the Lord's willing. Until next week, see ya.